Right, that's enough of that. Anyway, 7 o'clock, and as per our announcements on our Facebook site and on emails, I'd like to welcome you throughout the world listening in. In front of us in the studios today is Starina, who's got a last name called Night Sky. She's sitting in front of us, and her subject, her pet subject, is called sacred geometry. She's also got a website, so you may want to take a note of this. It's called the Galactic Goddess.com.au. Now, Starina lives in Perth, but we're having this conversation in the studios at Springwood in Brisbane, Queensland. And so, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Starina. And she also has her sister, support. So anyway, we'd just like to acknowledge Yolanda. Yeah. So, here you are on radio FM88.com.au and Starina. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Right. So, every story has a beginning, a middle, and end.
Mm-hmm.
You're very young, vivacious.
Thanks.
Mother.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a journey that transformed you was a trip to Egypt.
That's correct. Yeah. Went to Egypt in 2007 with my husband. He was my boyfriend at the time, and yeah, it was a lifelong dream to go to Egypt. And I actually ended up getting really sick while we were there when we ended up getting down to Luxor. And it's turned out to be the beginning of the end of Kushla, which is my birth name, and the beginning of the integrating of Starina and bringing through some amazing galactic sacred geometry. So while I got sick, one night I was laying in bed and I had a lot of imagery flashing by, lots of ancient Egypt, kingdoms, temples, things like that. It was in black and white with like a green overlay to it, a bit like night vision. And I just thought that I was tapping into some past life stuff. And it turned out that actually a walk-in was coming into my body. And I ended up being really, really sick. And when I returned to Perth, everything changed. My physical appearance, I stacked on about 35 kilos in about 6 weeks. My thyroid completely shut down as well. And I ended up chopping all my hair off and going dark brown and became agoraphobic. Didn't want to leave the house. It made me quite anxious at the thought of seeing people or people seeing me. And this is when the sacred geometry started coming through.
So we often talk about the muses and with the muses. In the sense that the musicians always talk, they get into that space, that zone, and it's almost like they just channel this music. I mean,
yes,
you hear Mozart, he just plays. Beethoven, who was deaf and string together symphonies. Artists who paint, who just like the face appears on the easel, and they just basically paint by numbers. In your case, very similar.
Yeah, I do have an artistic family. There's lots of, photographers, artists, poets, very musical as well. But I'd never studied art. It wasn't something that I had actually pursued. I was into photography. But when I spent a lot of time at home because I was in that shutting the world out phase, I had this overwhelming sense that I wanted to draw. And so I got out some stencils, circles and squares, and the Mathomat, which is what we used to have at high school, which has got all the different shapes on it. And I would start with a particular shape, say a circle, and then I would get either numbers of, draw 7 centimeters to the right, 4 centimeters to the left. Okay, now join those lines together. Now do a circle. Now do a square. And I would have the TV on or the radio or something like that to distract my logical brain. And then the next time I looked at the paper, I was quite surprised by what I would see, which was these geometric shapes in pencil. And then, of course, I wanted to transfer them onto canvas. And that was the trickiest bit because I was channeling the design. It was very difficult to then try and logically work out how I did that and retrace the steps onto the canvas. And so I would then redraw it in pencil on the canvas, and then the colours would start coming through. Once again, they were channeled, and then there would be a final layer of silver and gold pen, which I was told was the hologram that created the last layer of the geometry.
And so when the first drawing is put together,
yes,
and you stood back and looked at it,
mm-hmm.
you had your sort of Archimedes aha moment and thought, is this it? But it wasn't, was it?
The first one that I did, I was told was for me, and I didn't like it. It was, as I said, I was very sick when I came back from Egypt, and I was told that it was connected to healing. And what I would do is when I tuned into a particular person, I would draw their hologram, their geometry, and I didn't like what I was seeing. It was like a mutated frequency because I was integrating this walk-in. The colours were not as vibrant as I would have liked. They were quite murky, but it was because I was sick and I was integrating these new energies. So if I was to do my energy now, it would be a completely different geometry.
So for people listening for the first time, how many years ago was this?
This was in 2007. So while I was going through an extremely painful and difficult personal process, the drawings were like the most exciting thing that had ever happened to me. I'd always wanted to be artistic. I just didn't necessarily have a good eye for drawing. And but I loved what I was doing. I would pick a family or friend and tune into their geometry and do all these paintings for them, and just doing them for people all the time. And it was bringing me a lot of joy when really my physical body was completely shutting down. I had no idea how to help heal myself, and it was a bit of light in the darkness that was going on. So, yeah.
The night of the soul.
Dark night of the soul. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was. It got pretty hairy there for a while, and I remember kind of saying to my crew, look, you either make this a bit easier for me or I'm out of here, and I know you've got a plan for me. And they started to ease things up a bit because I was really sick. The bottom of my foot, all the skin had peeled off to the point where I was down to the flesh, and I couldn't walk anymore, so I couldn't work. All my little... the control of my world was gone, so I literally had to surrender every part of myself to allowing these energies to integrate into me and literally detoxify my body as well as my entire, my world, really.
And so your boyfriend hung in there?
He sure did, bless him. Yeah, he signed up for a bit of a wild ride, so I'm very blessed that my husband's also a healer, and he married me at my worst, and he now gets to enjoy me at my best. So, yeah, I'm very lucky.
And when did the children come along?
Our first son, Kaizan, I believe that we picked him up in Egypt energetically because I ended up getting pregnant with him when we came back. So around November, we went to Egypt in April. And so he brought a lot of transformation into our world. We ended up leaving Perth and moving to Queensland once he came along. And then I believe we picked my feisty little 2-year-old up from New Zealand. And he was born in Queensland. And then, we've now returned back to Perth.
I see your sister is with us, and she's got a background in media.
Yes.
Yeah. And she enjoying the ride as well?
Yeah, well, my sisters are all very gifted psychically as well. They just have varying degrees of how they chose to use it. And my mum, we've always joked that she's the white witch of the family. You can't get anything by her. However, she is not necessarily interested in this area or developing it or wanting to know anything about it. She just uses it for, keeping an eye on the kids and making sure we're staying in line and things like that. So I think really I'm the one that's the most out there with what I'm doing. So they've done pretty well to not disown me yet.
I use it to get the car park.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very good. Okay, so moving on then. So you got to Perth, and then the first of these drawings has come together.
Mm-hmm.
You distracted yourself by having a background music there going on.
Yeah.
In fact, in the silver method, it talks about he's a Mexican American engineer, and he realised that when he had his children listening to him and he had the music in the background, he said, "Oh, you're not listening to me," and they could actually repeat word for word because they'd gone and dropped out into the lower theta waves to be able to absorb what it is. Is that where you're at in that space? You sort of drop right down into those low wave brain activities and then you stand aside and whatever happens, happens?
Possibly, yeah. I think part of it was to get my logical brain out of the way because I hadn't been channeling prior to that, as far as I know. I mean, I've always been into healing and, I would do silly things when I was little where I'd guess the answers to things or help my nan with her crossword puzzle and just pull the word out of thin air. But really, I didn't know that I was able to channel prior to that. So I think for me, it was just I was at home alone and I would put the TV on as a bit of a distraction and then just get going with it. Whereas I don't need to do that anymore. It's almost like someone stamps the whole symbol in all at one time. It's like it's stamped into my consciousness, and then I have to quickly go get a bit of paper and figure out how on earth I draw it. Because originally they would show me the one-dimensional drawing, and then they started showing me the multi-dimensional, and I would say, okay, you're going to have to flatten that for me so that I can work out how on earth I'm going to draw that. Because some of them are quite complex, like the abundance symbol it's got a lot of parts to it, and so it's changed and evolved a lot from where it first started off.
Okay, so bringing it down from 3-dimensional into 1-dimensional, and then try and draw that pattern. As you draw that pattern, does your mind sort of then can also conceive it in 3D as well?
Yes.
Okay, that's very good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the colours, when are they?
So what's different now with the sacred symbols of the stars compared to what I used to do, which was more tuning into a person's geometry? The only way I can describe the difference is instead of it being, say, from connecting to a particular star system, so Syrian symbols or Pleiadian symbols, these are straight from source, and so they are like universal symbols. Everybody can benefit from them, and they're not limited to a particular frequency or a particular person, so everybody can access them. The way that I've done the Sacred Symbols of the Stars series is they would come through when I was feeding my baby. I was very pregnant with my little boy, my second boy, and they said, okay, it's time for your card deck. They announced on the 11th of the 11th, 2011, that it's time for your card deck. And I thought, great, I've always wanted to do one. And then all this information started coming through, and they just kind of drip fed it to me. And then as soon as the clock struck for 2012, we were ready for it. And so I would literally be feeding my baby and I would get the name of the symbol. First one was abundance. I was like, okay, good, this is the first symbol. And then the next day or a couple of days later, that's when I would see the geometry while I was feeding my baby. And I'd quickly have to go and sketch it. And then from that point on, I had roughly about a month of integrating the energies. So they literally threw life at me to give me the meanings of what that particular symbol meant. So I kept a diary of every crazy thing and awesome thing that was going on in my world. And that's how I knew what was related to that particular symbol. So with the geometries, They were given to me. However, the backgrounds for all of the symbols for the card deck are made up from the journeys that I went on with them. So, for example, the abundance symbol, the background when I was in meditation one day, I shot out into really deep space, and there was just this beautiful expansiveness, and around me were these beautiful pink, it was just like pink energy all around, and these tiny little tufts of white clouds and these sprinkling of stars, and just I couldn't feel my physical body, and I was just elated with this amazing energy. And they were like, this is abundance, you can come here, anyone can come here, anyone can access this frequency. So they allowed me to see it and feel it. And so that's what I've tried as best I can to be represented within the actual visual of that particular symbol.
Right. So let's just go back in the time tunnel here.
Sure.
So I'm talking about sacred geometry, and most people would consider we start off with the golden mean and Fibonacci. So the concept of the human being designed on those principles, where you would get a tape measure and measure from the sole of your foot to the top of your head. That would be one measurement. And then the next measurement would be the bottom of your sole of your feet to your tummy button. And then you divide off, and you should come to 1.618. And then you start seeing that same pattern from your chin to your forehead, and you get your nose, and then from your nose to your chin you get your lips, and so the whole pattern starts coming out. So most people would then consider that, okay, we're now drawing man, and it's got some sacred it's got some shape to it, it's got some formula to it. And then when you see that Fibonacci, then all of a sudden you start seeing it in plants and trees and other forms, and you think, oh, right, there is something quite divinely inspired here if you open your eyes to see. Yep. So then quite often when it rains, you quite often see birds will roost up in the power lines, and if you look at the power lines, they look like the staff on a sheet of music, and you quite often see them nestling up into 1s, 2s, 3s and 4s, so you can see your semitones and your quavers. So there is a form of sacredness in life as we see it. Then we have going to school and we're learning about the circle, the radius, the circumference, the Pythagoras theorem, the 3, 4, 5 triangles, and then we're seeing all these different shapes. And then in radio, for example, we operate on a frequency, a cycle, a number of hertz. So we operate on 88 cycles in order for someone to set up a receiving station who can then pick up our signal. So we know that mankind has developed this sphere of understanding over a period of time as we get teachers of life itself. Invariably, they haven't gone to university, but they have their wow moment. The guy who created benzene saw the symbolism of hopscotch and saw that was the bonds for his benzene. So to have you sitting in front of me explaining all those concepts, we can now go to another level of consciousness and take it to a new paradigm where we're not the only planet in the solar system, and certainly there are other galaxies. And each star system we've come to learn sends off a little quasar, like a lighthouse, sends off a little spectrum of frequency that ignites and allows you to navigate by the stars. So for you to then say, I'm here, I break down my physical bonds by using my consciousness to slip out and go off and see, because that's what you're, a seer, and then bring in this knowledge and then implant it here on the earth. It's like a wayfarer to give people the opportunities to say, right, there is patterns of life that I can see around me. Now I just got to open my consciousness to go to the next step. And here's this lady, Starina, saying, hello, there's something here.
Yeah.
So that something here is when you first made that interaction and you went off-world to another star system, and realize that star system has its own frequency, its own pitch, just like music.
Mm-hmm.
And you can then draw that energy back down here on Earth, and then you can actually utilize it. I mean, that's a real no-bender, isn't it? It's like someone knocking on the door and saying, "Excuse me, but you can have a toilet in your house," and No, we used to go to the end of the street there,
Mm-hmm.
on the backyard.
Yep.
Someone has to come up to be that wayfarer,
Yep.
to actually open up your consciousness.
Yep. Got some keys, What do you want to unlock? I've managed to pick up some keys, and I'm handing them out to people, and they're unlocking some amazing things in themselves. So that's it.
We've also seen the and it seems to be a phenomenon more associated with England because they're really on top of it, but it has happened in other parts. But the crop circle phenomenon,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
that's almost like saying the same people who are talking to you or bringing forth that knowledge are also showing it on a major scale.
Mm-hmm.
By using the landscape of a wheat field.
Yep.
To give you a 3D pattern, an image.
That's it. It's the same technology, it's like they're tattooing it onto the earth so that, for one, it's not only implanting that technology and that frequency into the earth's surface to help her evolve, it's also affecting every single person that either goes into it or takes a photo of it, shares that image. People that might look like a pretty picture looking at one of my symbols, but people don't realize that the frequency behind it is actually affecting them. All they've got to do is look at it or stand in front of it, or they can pop it under their pillow, or they could wear it on a t-shirt, and it's going to be working on them all the time. So it's the similar technology with crop circles, and yes, it comes from the same people, I guess, although there's a few different star systems that are working with that technology. However, there's also a lot of man-made and artificial frequencies that are also being put on there as well. So
the other day came on Facebook, and it was quite interesting. It was a little thing to show one sperm,
Mm-hmm.
and it had 35.2 megabytes of data contained in that one sperm.
Wow.
I mean, we look at our hard drives and our SD cards, and we're looking at that and thinking, well, we've got a long way to go to get to that microscopic level to put that amount of data. So would I be amiss to sort of suggest that the information that you're containing, it's almost like the language of symbology. The picture tells 1,000 words.
Mm-hmm.
When you draw that picture, you draw the energy down, you put the colour to it, you put the tone to it, a person picks it up, and instantly somewhere it unlocks something within the DNA.
Yes. Yeah, the symbols are sound and light frequency manifested into a one-dimensional drawing or a three-dimensional shape. So yes, we are holographic, and even the sun's rays has holograms in it that then goes into the plants that then grow, and we eat those plants, so we're consuming holograms once again. So yes, what I love about these artworks is that I do expos and things, and people can come along with any level of consciousness, any level of awareness, or lack thereof, and can stand in front of them. And I just love hearing what people get when they look at them, or they're like, I can feel that, or I just tried to walk past this stall and I was drawn in, like there was some kind of beam drawing me in here. And then I just stand there with a big smile on my face. I'm like, right, which one are you drawn to? Stand in front of it. Where in your body can you feel it? And people are spinning out that, but it's a picture, and it's like, but it's so much more than that. But I love also, as with artwork, what you get when you look at the symbol that I've drawn and the artwork that I've created is something so much more and different than what I got. So, when I'm doing my workshops, I love to hear what everybody else gets from that geometry, because I know what I got. But, that's part of the magic of it as well, is it means something different to everybody.
You noticed that when the old box brownie camera came out, and subsequent to all that, all the photos would come out in a 4:3 format.
Mm-hmm.
And then we drifted across to the HD TVs and stuff, where it's now 16:9, and all of a sudden your mindscape opens up to that new paradigm of looking at a 16:9 image rather than the old 4:3. That's a major shape shifter as well, isn't it? It's a major shift in consciousness from your eyes to be able to see this new paradigm, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that with your paintings as well?
My reality has definitely been changed, and the parameters of what I believe is possible has changed. I also I no longer believe what's been put in front of me, which has been a big thing as well, like huge breakdown of all those little pigeonholes that everything goes into, and all the rules and all the whole matrix that has been created. It's been quite amazing to to have really everything broken down, and I really question everything that's put in front of me, and a lot of that has been because of the symbols. I don't look the same as I did when they started coming through. As I said, I went through a real transformation after Egypt, and I really didn't like what I saw in the mirror because I didn't recognize this person anymore. And when the symbols started coming through, the sacred symbols of the stars, suddenly I started seeing the light coming back in. And every couple of months I would kind of catch myself in the mirror and just go, whoa, is that what I look like now? And I keep getting younger. And even when I take photos from each workshop, I look different to the one before because these light frequencies are just shedding layers off of me there, because I'm continually working with them. I'm continually evolving and releasing layers of the shadow self, and releasing karma, etc. So I'm having some amazing results with them, and it's kind of opened me up to being really excited about the limitless possibilities of what we're actually really capable of.
So when it comes to the different star systems, are we talking within our own Milky Way, or are we talking moving into other galaxies?
We're talking about everything that's really out there, yeah. I mean, some of the visions that they've shown me when I was channeling these symbols have been crazy, out of this world. One of the symbols, which one was it? The golden eye, which is all about activating the pineal gland. And they showed me that this knowledge has been hidden in plain view in all these ancient societies, in temples and ancient symbology. However, the knowledge has been suppressed, and when this particular symbol came through, I had these amazing rushes of energy coming through me like pure gold, and I was shot out into outer space, and I had this row of council beings standing in front of me, all these amazing galactic beings, and they said, "Welcome to the Cosmic Hall of Records. What do you want to know?" And it was like this library of everything that's ever been and anything that ever will be, in all directions of time and space and in all dimensions. It's like, welcome. And this particular symbol, anyone can use it. Anyone can access that information. And once upon a time, we all had free reign to go there and access that amazing cosmic knowledge. But it had been shut down and suppressed. Oh, the third eye's here. Yep, it's on the brow, That's your third eye. And it's not. It's the pineal. It's all about, opening that up. That's where the magic happens. So, yeah.
And we've seen in Queensland the introduction of fluoride in the water.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's lots of things that they're doing to our food and spraying in the air. And one of the things that some of the information that came through when I was channeling the second series was when I channeled Solar Ra, which is all about accessing the holograms of light from the sun, which is, feeding us consciousness. And part of what they told me when they're spraying all the chemtrail stuff is not only what it's doing to, you know, anchor in all the heavy metals and it's affecting the food and everything else and suppressing everyone. It's more about, they told me that it's actually mutating the signals from the sun. It's distorting the information frequency to help us upgrade ourselves and, you know, evolve our consciousness. It's actually mutating those signals so we're not getting the pure stream of consciousness coming through. So yeah, it was quite interesting finding that out.
Which would indicate that for anyone to have that type of knowledge would suggest they're actually not from this world. Or if they're from this world, they're from the future.
Yeah, or if they're in this world, they're not necessarily working with the right team, you know, like there's, I believe that there's many people working with star beings and they might not necessarily have the earth and the humans' best interests at hand. You know, it's all about the control systems that are in place and keeping them in place, really, and which is some of those conspiracy things that are out there. They're just truth.
No, it just rocks me the fact that someone would be prepared to go and fill up a plane and just go around spraying.
It's quite horrific, really, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's more of an intent behind it. So
definitely,
to have that intent, you'd have to have knowledge.
Exactly. They've got a lot of information that's been withheld, you know, amazing technologies that we can't even imagine. I mean, you look at 3D printers now, what they're capable of. They've had this technology for a long time, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's just the stuff that they're allowing us to know about. You know, there's been...
Which would indicate there's Mark II out there already, that they're not happening real.
Yeah, some of the things that I've heard.
It's like the HB pencil, isn't it?
Yeah.
3D printed HB pencil, and then, of course, they must have 5D or 7D.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw the 3D printer, I just thought that was mind-blowing, and it's amazing. It's exciting because it's like, well, what else are they going to let us know about? I mean, it's all controlled, it's all filtered, but it's exciting, you know, that it means that we're ready for it, and, you know, people just need to unplug and get with the program, that really stop believing everything that's spoon-fed to you, you know. It's something that, I really came to understand when channeling these symbols is the power of symbols, the power of sacred geometry, and actually, like as you said, you know, you can see it in everyday life. It's like it's there to control us as well. Some of the symbols that I saw, without getting too crazy about it, some of the symbols that were like placed over my house when I was channeling them to come in and sabotage what I was doing. I've had numerous bizarre and crazy things happen to me and our house and technology and things like that to, you know, stop the information getting out there. But, you know, I'm not doing any harm and we're ready for it. And it's really exciting to see the amazing transformations that are happening. But, yeah, I don't know, my little conspiracy radar's just off the charts, just from what I've experienced from bringing these symbols through.
I mean, any day of the week down the Louvre, it's just hordes and hordes of people just to see one painting. You know, the Mona Lisa is just obviously using a technique that just brings that face out of the picture and reveals something quite mysterious, but it seems to have some energy pattern to it.
Yeah, he was a clever man. Wouldn't surprise me if there's, you know, amazing hidden sacred geometry that's actually, you know, speaking to the cells in the body, activating different parts of us to awaken to the hidden codes that he put in everything. You know, I find that really fascinating and exciting that, something that's been around for such a long time can still have that amazing effect on people.
The same as that Japanese guy.
Dr. Emoto?
Yeah, with the water molecules.
Yeah.
And how your thought can transform a water molecule.
Yeah.
So you're actually embracing that particular molecule of water and changing its patterns.
Yeah, its structure.
So fully on board with where you're coming from. I mean, how many other people in the world have you come across who just has an empathy with you?
To what, sorry?
Has an empathy. They just instantly know.
Oh, loads. That's part of the thing that I really love about doing expos is it's not about, pumping out loads of products. It's me getting to meet people. It's me coming out of the cave, which I hide in and do the magic, and I come out, and I love just seeing the effect that it has on people, whether it's, some people will just stand there and they have no idea what's going on, and they just got to stand there. I'm just going to stand here and talk to you, and I don't know why, but I can't stop staring at that thing over there. What is that? And then there's other people that come along, and they're really into sacred geometry, and they're like, oh, wow, did you realize that this is this, and it's doing this, and rah, rah, and other people come along and go, did you realize it's got a portal in it? And I said, they're all portals. It's like, did you realize it? And I just love it. Like, it really does speak to everybody, even the young ones. I've had some young know-it-alls come up, and I'm like, okay, pick a symbol. And it happened at a festival recently, and this young guy with his girlfriend, acting all cool. I'm like, okay, pick a symbol. And he'd pick a symbol, and then bang, do a little channeling of whatever information wants to come through. And he's like, jaw hits the floor. He's like, you got all that from this? But it's like, well, that's the key that you picked, and the information came through. So, and then of course the girlfriend's got to have a go. Okay, what about me then? And then the friend, and then they go and, get the auntie and the uncle, and keep coming back. So I just love it. Like, it's brought so much joy into my world, and I've met the coolest people. And since being Starina, my whole world's opened up in a weird and wonderful way. And I'm really lucky that my husband's he's well up for it, and he's into all the weird and wonderful as well. There's no limits.
There was a guy called Marilyn, can't think of his last name, but he changed his name, obviously with a name like that, and he became the real macho of Western movies. His name was John Wayne. So actors and actresses have always been known to change their name, to take on that new
vibration.
Pseudonym, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how did you come up with Starina?
Well, I didn't actually come up with it. It kept coming through when I was channeling the first series. I kept hearing this name, Starina. I remember telling my husband, I said, oh, I keep hearing this name, Starina. Like, I think they want me to change my name to Starina. And he's like, to what? And I said, Starina. And he just laughed. And I said, and he said the name Starina. And then he's like, whoa, I just got like rushes of energy when I said that. I said, I know, it keeps happening to me every time I say that name. And then I went to a workshop, and someone who knew me as Kushla, she said, oh, you're going by the name Starina. And then she's like, whoa, I just got this big rush of energy. And I said, I know, that's what keeps happening to me. I actually went to a festival and I had an aura photo done. I was about halfway through channeling the first series. And this lovely lady who did the reading for me, the stuff that she was coming out with, she's like, what are you doing? I said, what do you mean? She's like, well, you're channeling like really high galactic frequencies. And I was like, okay, this chick's good. Like, how are you getting that from my aura? And she's like, we're not talking about this level. We're going way beyond that. Like, what is it that you do? And I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I'm channeling these cool, sacred geometry symbols. And so she brought through all this information. She was really spot on. She's like, right, there's a new name for you. And I was like, And she's like, oh, there's a new business name. And I said, no, I'm not changing my business name. She said, they're telling me there's a new name and you've got to start using it. And I was like, oh, Starina. And she's like, that's it. Say it again. I said, Starina. And she goes, right, where did you get that? And I said, I keep hearing it all the time. And I thought that, maybe I'm supposed to use that name. She said, you need to start using it because the birth name is over and done with. That energy comes with karma, etc., etc. And I'm like, yeah, I know all about that. And she said, you need to start using this name. So from that point on, I started using it. And my whole world changed. I started attracting the most amazing people that were of the frequency of Starina, people would come to my workshops, people that I would meet at events, people like yourself, they're all attracted to the Starina frequency. So I had a bit of a complete identity crisis when I went back to Perth and I had to go back into being Kushla again. And it's been very uncomfortable, and I've got a bit of clearing out to do there, and I need to learn how to be Starina in Perth as well. So in order to maintain that vibration, because the name does hold a really nice vibration. So
Does that mean changing name by default?
I think so, yeah.
And the night sky, how did that come about?
That was just because, you know, Facebook makes you have a last name, doesn't it? You know, you got to have the last name, and I didn't know what to put with Starina because it's just Starina, and I was like, oh, you know, like starlight or something like that, and they just said night sky. I was like, okay, and then I realized when I read it, it's star in a night sky. So yeah,
That's amazing how you play on words, isn't it?
Yeah, so Starina, they told me, means like an arena of stars, you know, a large collection of stars. I was like, okay, I like that.
There's always the folk stories, and Walt Disney does it so well when someone passes and they go off and then a new star is born and that twinkle comes along, isn't it? They do it so well, don't they?
Lovely, yeah.
So the star is born, but it's here on the planet.
Yeah.
Did your sisters decide to take up new names as well?
No. They've all got beautiful, unusual names, and no, I'm the weird one in the family that's a little bit further out there.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So is Mum Wendy by the sounds of it, and Dad's
No, Sylvia and
Casper.
Roy, very, very good British names, and but all the kids have got really unusual names. I'm one of 7 kids, and yeah, we're a bit of a crazy bunch. So there's lots of nice unusual names.
Okay, so let's come to the whole cut and thrust of the cards. So
Sure.
This is the first set you got. You said you got 2 sets.
Yes,
I
do.
Yeah. In the first set, was that back in Perth? Was that just like in your own sanctuary there of your home, or was?
There was no sanctuary in Perth. We left Perth, moved to Queensland, and we stayed there for 4 years. So they started coming through at the beginning of 2012, and they took about a month each to integrate.
That's here in Queensland.
Here in Queensland.
Yeah.
So I think the first series took about 9 months to come through, and I thought, okay, time for a break. But the second series started coming through straight away. So I then started teaching workshops with the first series, and now the second series is through. I do workshops with that as well. I also channeled a brand new healing modality called the Languages of Light. And then, everyone's asking for the third series, but I'm having a bit of a break at the moment, and allowing my body to settle a little bit first, because it does take its toll on me, channeling these really high frequencies. And so I've become extremely sensitive to food, especially crap food. A lot of the unnatural things that are in our food. So, I've had to eliminate large chunks of food, and I can't have anything processed. It's like my body's become extremely sensitive to everything. Just having to just let it settle for a little bit before the third series comes through. I can't wait to see what they look like.
Well, you're dealing with vibrations. So you mentioned before how the sun comes through and starts the process with the plants, and so we have this photosynthesis, and we're actually participating in the vibration of the foods.
Yes.
So you're actually coming in sync with the natural foods and the water and vegetables. Your sister spotted the Don Tolman encyclopedia, so he's a great advocate for the natural foods.
Yeah.
And so I could see where your body is sort of lapping that up.
Yeah, I would love to look more into what he's doing, actually, because a clear vessel is a great finely tuned antenna. So, I think that would be really awesome if I could really, really detox.
So you're here in Queensland, and the first pattern came together. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you actually use a pen, or did you use a pencil? Or
pencil.
Yeah.
Pencil.
Use a ruler or
Yes, pencil, ruler.
compasses?
No, not compasses. Just they're called mathemats, which we used to use in high school, which is like a stencil that's got circles and squares and
those
triangles.
ones. Yep, I know
Yeah.
what you're talking, yep.
So I just use them, very basic, and that's why back in the beginning when I was channeling the original geometries before the sacred symbols, I didn't necessarily value what I was doing. It was just a bit of fun, and I thought that was really cool, and I just loved them. But as time went on, I realized what they were actually doing. And but with the sacred symbols, things had to change. They had to become perfect. So because in order for the frequencies to work properly, every line had to be exact. And so instead of being pencil drawings, I then created them digitally using computers and certain software to make sure all the lines were exact. Every single angle was correct. And then create them digitally with the backgrounds and everything to create the artworks.
So you did each drawing that you did, you went through the whole process just to finish that off before you started the new one, or
Yes.
you just okay? Yeah.
Oh, you mean like to make them digital? No. I created the entire first series, which is 12 geometries, and then there's a 13th symbol as well, which is the master symbol. So the master symbol is one geometry that's made up of all 12, and same with the second series, there's 12, and then there's the master symbol. So I'll draw them all in pencil first, and when they were all complete, all the information had finished coming through, then they were created digitally.
You just scanned it and put it in a CAD CAM software, and boom, boom, away you go.
It's Illustrator, so I've had a bit of help with that though.
Have you?
I mean, the way that my brain works for channeling and then get on a computer, it's like two different worlds. They don't really communicate with each other. If I did one or the other, then it would be better. But I can create the geometries, but really I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So why would I do like a half-assed job of, drawing the background when I've got a fantastic graphics lady who can pluck the image of this amazing journey that I went on, and I can explain it to her, and I'll say it was just like this, and she can create it, and I then tweak it. So everything is exactly the way that I saw it or I wanted it to be. However, she's spent 15 years in her area of expertise, and that's not mine. So I'm very thankful to have come across her. It took a little bit of trial and error with a few different graphic artists to get the one that was worth it. Yeah, she's amazing.
So if you're listening, I just want to draw your attention to Starina's website. It's called galacticgoddess.com.au. If you trawl through there, you'll see her first set of photos in there.
They're all on there, thegalacticgoddess.com.au. There's the first series and the second series are both on there, so I've popped them on with no watermarks on them, so people actually get the pure frequency coming through. Because if you have a look on Facebook, I've put watermarks on there so that people can't copy them. But it's quite funny. A friend of mine said, I know this is going to sound crazy, but your images with the writing on, does that like change the vibration? Because and she's not a very spiritual person at all. I said, that's really funny because no one's ever asked me that before, but yes, it does. And she's like, can I please see one without the writing on? And I showed her. She's like, completely different energy. And I was like, yeah, that's right. So if people go on my website, they'll actually be able to see the moving images of the pure geometry, and they'll be able to feel the vibration properly.
Okay. So the first 12 came
Yes.
through. And in what order did they go through?
So we had abundance come through first. So this was really good because it set an amazing foundation for me to build upon, showing me that anything is possible, because abundance really allows you to see that there is limitless possibilities. So it also brought in money for me as well. So I stopped doing my other businesses and I said to my husband, look, I really believe in this 100%, and I sold off my jewelry business to fund me doing nothing but channeling these symbols. So we had a few windfalls with money when that particular symbol came through as well. So it was an awesome way to start. The next one that came through was reincarnation. So this one's really awesome for going to previous lifetimes, unlocking gifts and talents that you may have had once upon a time. It's also really good for ancestral wounding as well, if you want to go back to a particular point where something was first seeded. So say you've got addictions or illnesses that started down the genetic line somewhere, you can go back to where it was first seeded and unlock it and heal it so that it can go through all timelines so that particular pattern is erased. So
that expression is usually the sins of the father, isn't it? That goes through 7 generations, isn't it?
I reckon there's sins of the mother as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. Cool.
The next one that came through, this one's one of my favourites. And I remember when it came through because it was so unusual the way that they were giving me the, do a line this way, 7 centimetres, and then this way, and then draw dots here, here, here. Okay, now connect these lines, and now connect those ones even further. And just created these amazing stars that when I finished the drawing, I couldn't actually believe that I'd drawn it, and I had no idea how I'd actually done it. So Star Child is a beautiful frequency to work with. It's all about anchoring heaven on earth, about as above, so below. It's also about some people live in that upper world. They really don't resonate with being here on planet Earth, and they really struggle with their Earth life. So it's a really good one to anchor them into the Earth, and vice versa. Some people are really, really grounded and really earthy and really want to access some of that higher knowledge. So this one's really good for that. It's also all about accessing your divine blueprint and anchoring that. So I just love this one. It's also, you can use it for connecting in with your star family and your home planet. It triggers the hell out of people though, because it also brings up childhood issues as well. So we've all got those. So it's a really fantastic healer, but some people have a real aversion to working with this particular symbol. Then we had transformation. This one works a bit like a ninja star, and it really cuts through energy. It instigates change and transformation, helps to get things moving in your life. I use this one a lot when people come to my stall, and I might be doing a reading for them, and then I can just kind of see this fine cord that's kind of like a bit of an anchor around their ankle, a ball and chain, and I'll just use it to buzz through the cord, and I'll be telling them what I can see and what's going on, and I'll just cut through those chains, and they're looking at me like I'm nuts because they can't see anything, and I'm just zipping my hand around, and it works, and it will cut through that particular energy. So this one's my favorite. My husband's favorite. It's whenever he's stuck, he needs to do a healing on himself, and he doesn't quite know what he needs to heal or where he needs to go. He'll just bring this one in and kind of clear the space, and then he'll get the information coming through as to what he needs to work on. The next one that came through was DNA activation. So this one I call the proton pill. And it's interesting, I had a security guard at one event that I did, and he came up and he goes, "What's this one here? I can't stop looking at it." And I said, "Oh, that's DNA activation." He goes, "That's the red pill." And he was referring to the Matrix movie. And I said, "Well, yeah, this one's, contains all of the information of the living library of light. This works on the cells in the body, the blood, the water, all of the liquids in the body." And what they showed me when this one came through was that each of these are like circuits, and our DNA, it's like some of the circuit board has not been connected properly, or rather it's been unplugged. And so what we need to do is re-plug these parts in. These doorways need to reconnect so that anyone who's done like circuitry and things like that, it then creates the circuit for the electricity to flow through in order for that particular piece of DNA to come online and be activated. So this is, a pretty interesting symbol to work with.
Hey, that's good. Yeah, you're good at it.
Yeah, I know. Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah,
I keep
people,
talking.
if you just happen to be listening to the radio FM88.com, if you're listening that way. It's great, and you can just open up another browser, and if you still listen, well, you still listen free to air, of course. But if you're on the internet, just have a quick check on the galacticgoddess.com.au, and you can just follow the conversation as Starina is talking about with the cards. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, if you go to the page that says Series 1, that's what we're talking about at the moment. So I'm up to Contact. So this one I got really excited when it came through. This one was really messing with my eyes when I was drawing the inner lines. My eyes were flickering backwards and forwards into different dimensions as I was trying to draw the lines. And this one actually took quite a few days to finish drawing because I was, only half in the room, half somewhere else. And the energies around the outside, that's actually star language. And that triggered me a lot because I didn't feel like, all my self-worth stuff came up because I was like, who am I to write this language? And they just really spoon-fed me and made me do it really slow, just keep going. And I just did one character at a time. So this is actually made up of 9 different characters around the outside, repeated 4 times. And I was told this was the coordinates. And I remember one evening telling my husband, I said, it's like a gateway to the stars. This is amazing. And then I just kind of went, oh, duh, it's a stargate. And this one I've actually got tattooed on my back. And I'd been talking about getting a new tattoo. And then once this one came through, they showed it to me on my back. And I was like, oh, my goodness, what's that going to do to me? But, I finally thought, all right, I'm going to have conscious contact. This is awesome. And I cracked a sad after this one came through and I didn't have my little sit-down powwow with all the galactic beings that I wanted. And, I didn't consciously remember it anyway. So I had a bit of a sulk and I had a bit of a break for a couple of months before I brought through the next symbol. So,
and your husband gets to see it at night. So he's sleeping next to an art gallery, yeah?
Yeah, pretty much. A lot of the symbols actually appeared to me in our bedroom. This is one of them, Space Clear. So, I'd been putting it out there. Look, I just need some space. I just need some space. This particular symbol has a beautiful purple, what looks like the flower of life, what many people know as the flower of life. However, it's not. It is a series of interlocking spheres. But this beautiful purple veil was coming down my bedroom wall. They kept waking me up, 2-3 o'clock in the morning. And, I'd be half awake, half asleep and see these amazing things in my bedroom. And there down one of the walls was this beautiful veil of purple light, creating what looks a bit like the flower of life all the way down my bedroom wall. And I was blinking and rubbing my eyes. And I'm like, no, I can still see it. And I was like, okay, well, this must be connected to the next symbol that's coming through. And, this veil, it looked like I could walk through it. It was sitting out from the wall. And I drew the rest of the geometry, which looks like a hexagon with spheres on the end of it and then one in the middle. And it wasn't until, I'd drawn this one and I was drawing the circles that make up what looks like the flower of life in the background. And as I've never drawn the flower of life, and as I was drawing each circle, the energy was building and building, and I was like, wow, like I've never done this before. And by the time I'd finished, I was like, wow, what is this? And it wasn't until I was doing a healing with it that it actually popped out into its 3-dimensional shape, and it's actually a box or a cube filled with these interlocking spheres that all move and shift and change. So that one was really interesting. So this works a bit like an energetic vacuum cleaner. So you can throw anything in it and it'll basically dematerialize it. So it's awesome for doing clearings of any kind, whether it's on your physical body or in your space. I actually use this one a lot when I would get stuck on bringing a particular symbol through. I would bring it into each of the energy centers and clear it out so that it would allow room for more energy inlays to come in. So the next one in the first series was Universal Protection. This one had another interesting story to it. I was doing a healing on my husband, and as soon as we got into the healing, he's in this little red rocket ship, and he's taking me through all these different portals and wormholes, and we're just going through one after the other, and they're all different. And after about the third or fourth one, I'm like, okay, he's showing off. I'm not going to follow him. And so he'd taken me through an 8-pointed star, and I followed him through that one. And he took me through a 6-pointed star, and I followed him through that one. And then he went through the 5-pointed star, and I was like, he's just showing off. I'm going to go do this. And at that point, I actually got attacked by this massive spider, this galactic spider during the healing. And I ended up having this massive psychic attack, and this energy got me in the base of the skull. And it took me out for a couple of days. And but of course, it was all teaching me all about the symbol. And I hadn't, we're up to about symbol number 8, and I hadn't brought in a protection symbol. And so this one is the protection symbol. And so I went through a process of getting rid of the spider and healing. And I realized that my husband was actually showing me these particular portals that create this safe passage for the universal protection. So it's a really handy symbol, that one. And so once again, this is bringing down that beautiful golden light of source, and that's the universal protection symbol. Did you have any questions about anything, or should I just keep yabbering? Yeah.
It's all inspiring, because we've had a good natter about who you are and where you got there, and then of course people were saying what it is you're actually doing, and you got 12 of these pieces of artwork, and they all tell a story.
Yeah, they do.
These are all your little Mona Lisas. I mean, really, these are your crop circles. This is an energetic pattern. So whilst we're talking, it's appropriate, I would suggest that, obviously if you're listening free on air, we would ask you to just jump on the internet and just look up the galacticgoddess.com.au. And of course, if you are listening on stream, wherever you are around the world, you can just hit the browser button and open up another window and have a look while we're talking about these, and you may get a energetic feeling and an abundance of healing taking place at the same time. That's how it seems to work these days.
That's how it works. Yeah. Take notice of when you're looking at particular geometries. Do you have a good feeling? Do you have a negative reaction to it? Where do you feel it in your body? Your head might start tingling. You might suddenly start getting a download. Your ear starts buzzing like crazy. They affect people differently. So it's really cool. So the next one that came through was Divine Creation. This one really triggered me a lot, because this is all about connecting in with our divinity, our divine spark, that God source energy that is within each of us. And this one originally actually looked really different. It had, at the moment, you'll see this beautiful golden light energy. But when it first came through, I'd finished the card deck and all the backgrounds were done, and they were all finished. And this one just stood out. It didn't fit. And I said, okay, we need to work on this one again. It was this really fiery, reddy orange background. And it took me completing the entire series for my transformation to be complete, that I then went back and went, okay, I recognize that this is not what it actually looks like. And it got a boost of energy, and I could finally recognize this particular symbol, because it's really hard to look in the mirror and see perfection, to look in the mirror and know that you are God, you are God's source, and really recognize that divinity. And so it's a bit of a corker, this one, but an amazingly beautiful frequency to work with. We work with this one quite a bit in some of the advanced healing techniques that came through. We kind of embody ourselves within this symbol. This one actually came through with sound for me. I could hear this beautiful harmonics, like an old-fashioned music box, those wind-up music box. We used to have these jewelry boxes when we were little, where you could wind them up and they had a dancing ballerina.
Oh, yeah.
So it was kind of like that metal on metal pinging noise that I could hear with this one as it turned around, making this beautiful sound. So that was a really different one. The next symbol that came through, I talked a little bit about it earlier, which was the golden eye. So this one's all about opening and activating the pineal gland. This one has got a very high, pure golden stream of energy. This one, I had absolutely no fingernails. The energy that came through with it was extremely powerful, and me and my son just mowed down all our fingernails. Was really wired a lot of the time. I meditated every day out on the deck, just bringing the sun into my body or bringing it into my pineal gland, and then allowing the pineal to then feed through and fill my body up with gold. I became a bit of a sun worshipper as well, whereas I've spent most of my life staying out of the sun. But it was almost like it was feeding me. And as I said, this one's all about seeing the unseen. So I've had some situations where I've been almost like a fly on the wall, and seeing certain scenarios play out. So it's a real kick-ass energy it's not one that I would sleep on all the time, because you won't be sleeping. It's not one that I would wear as a pendant all the time, because you'd probably end up quite wired like I did. And so the next symbol for that reason is the grounding symbol. We really needed it after the golden eye. So this one is pretty amazing. It took over 1.5 years before I actually let anyone see this outside of my workshops, because of the importance of what it does and the information that came through with it. So I was told that my boys would help me to bring through these symbols, and this particular one, I got half of the symbol from my husband, half from my little boy. And when I was giving my husband a hug one day, I saw half of the symbol, and I drew that half, and then I was really beating myself up that I couldn't get this symbol, and it seemed too simple. And I gave my little boy a hug. I said to him, Mummy needs a bit of a cuddle. And as he gave me this loving cuddle, I saw the other half of it. So he gave me this half that's got the crosses on, and it actually came through with a texture which none of the others did. It was like, how black sand attracts a magnet, that kind of magnetic feel to it. And so this symbol had all this like magnetized energy around it, which was really interesting. And then I found out that feminine energy is actually magnetic. So this one is the key to inner earth. This one allows you to have access into the inner earth realm. So you can connect with Mother Gaia, the elementals. You can connect with all the portals and ley lines. So therefore you can connect with all the sacred sites. You can connect with the crystal kingdom. I was cracking a sad one day because it just seemed too simple. Like if you look at that, it kind of looks a bit like something that King Solomon may have drawn. And to me, I guess I'd put so much emphasis on this symbol that I thought it was too simple. So I remember laying in bed one day in meditation, just begging to see this symbol. And I had these amazing inner earth beings, these two incredibly tall elemental beings come up, these guardians of inner earth, and they came to meet me, and they took me in for to have counsel with Mother Earth. And I had quite a profound experience with that, and so I got my confirmation that I did indeed have the right symbol.
Interesting, because it was a male energy, both husband in terms of a man, but it's also the innocence of a boy.
Yeah.
So the two male energies came to give birth to that.
Yeah, my husband, bless him, he's it's not that he's not masculine, but he's got a beautiful feminine side. Same with my little boy as well. They both embody the feminine quite nicely. So yeah, it was really special that I got that symbol a little bit from each of them. And I love Mother Earth and all the elemental energies. So yeah, it's a beautiful frequency. And then the last one of the first series is Unconditional Love. So this is another one that appeared to me in my bedroom. Once again, I was feeding my baby, broad daylight, and I just had this amazing golden symbol just hovering in front of my wall. We'd moved house. This was a completely different house, and I had this beautiful symbol coming down the wall. And I was like, wow, that looks a lot like the flower of life. However, this one really morphs and changes. I had a really big version of this on canvas in my bedroom, and every time I would rock my baby to sleep, I would just be staring at it, absorbing the energy, anchoring that energy into him to get him to go to sleep. And I would just be cooking. This one's got a lot of heat with it. And I really saw this particular symbol morph and change. So this center point, if you imagine it being closer to you, and actually creates the icosahedron filled with interlocking spheres. I've also seen it as 3 tiers, 3 layers of like 9 spheres. And this one changes as you're watching it, as they all do. And this one's an amazing frequency for clearing the lowest energy frequencies, the fear, the abuse, the domination, control, those really the harder energies to clear, and also infusing the beautiful unconditional love frequency. So yeah, that's a bit about the first series.
It's good, isn't it? And that took 9 months, did you say?
Yes, yep. So the second series came through much quicker, and yeah, I've got a lot of people asking me for the third series, but as I said, I'm going through a bit of a transition phase, especially with anchoring Starina frequency in. So I've kind of been concentrating on that.
And Perth.
And Perth, yes. Been integrating, moving back to Perth, yeah.
Was there a big shift by making that decision? What possessed you to make that decision then?
People kept asking me, so why are you moving back? Why are you moving back? And I was like, they told me to. I think, we had an amazing healing coming to Queensland. We really got to create clear canvases for ourselves and paint a beautiful picture of who we'd always wanted to be. No one knew who we were. We didn't have a past. We didn't have all of those things that follow you around. And so everybody in Queensland embraced me as a healer, as a psychic, as an energy worker. And I guess I didn't really know how to be that in Perth. I've been there for a long time. And I guess a lot of that was towards me. But so it's been an adjustment, and I really look forward to opening myself up more in Perth and allowing people to see who I really am. Yeah.
So it sounds like music, or the sounds of music, the music from the spheres seems to be your next link, your next jump. Sure,
yeah. Like I've heard the music of the spheres. Yeah, I'm interested by that. I mean, we were brought up in a very musical family, and so I know you're really into classical. My dad got us into classical at a young age, and I know how much that affects everything. So yeah, I would love to think that the songs come through with them.
Yeah, do you think you'll be given the pitch or the key?
Possibly, yeah. I don't limit what's going to come through or how it's going to come through or who's going to contribute. I love the journey. So all I know is the third series is going to be huge, and it's going to be different to the other two. And so I'm not quite sure. The first series is very transformative. It's very, digging deep into that well of our human experience. The second series is very, very different. It's more about taking things to the next level as far as your level of consciousness and the energies that you're able to embody and things like that. So I have no idea what they've got in store for the third series, yeah. But I feel it'll be quite global, and I've had some experiences of anchoring these frequencies into the earth, and whenever we do workshops, there seems to be some kind of natural phenomenon that happens that kind of correlates to the workshop weekend, whether it's earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, all sorts of different things.
So your workshops, are they attended more by females than males?
Predominantly, yes. Yeah. I I don't know why that is. It could be because I'm a female. It may also be because they're the mothers. They're the nurturers that are going to go out there and then share their frequency with others. Because, you know, when we work on ourselves, you know, I heal people that come in contact with me, you know, just because of the frequency that I'm resonating at. So anyone who does the workshop, same thing, you know, I do warn them that, you know, by the way, you are going to trigger other people. You know, try not to be too disheartened if you, you know, some people you're going to trigger and they're going to be really inspired by your transformation and inspired by your new knowledge or level of awareness. However, the opposite's a lot more common. I've certainly experienced it a lot, where people can go into jealousy or denial of their own gifts and talents, and they can lash out at you. And one thing that happens is there's a huge clearing out of stuff that no longer fits and is holding you down or stopping you from raising your level of vibration and living at a higher level. So me and my husband have had a huge clearing out of friends, family, jobs, where we live. Everything changed. Yeah, people are made aware of this before they do the workshop. So be warned.
Yeah, I'm listening to you. Actually, I was visualizing that one. What do you call it? The vacuum cleaner, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Space clear.
Space clear. So, do you have a big carpet square or something that's about 10 foot by 10 foot, and say whoever's got the most baggage, you put them in there, and it really follows them up, or what's going on here?
Well, if they walk through the workshop door, I've already set up energetic templates within the room to keep energies locked in and also keep them out. And I say to people, you may rock up here looking like you're sponsored by some suitcase company, but a lot of people are really surprised by the workshop, because the flyer says one thing, but it's so much more than that. And that's part of the magic, is say very little, and then they come in and just like, this is nothing like I expected, and this is so different to anything I've ever done before. And they leave on day 3 feeling completely different and feeling lighter and inspired and having a clarity that they didn't have before. And they leave not knowing what it is exactly that they let go of, but they never think of it again. And that's part of the magic.
Okay, so sitting very patiently as our guest is Yolanda. You want to bring your chair a bit forward there? Yeah. Okay, so I understand you're going to the workshop. It's Friday, Saturday and Sunday. This is your first?
It is, yes.
I understand your other sisters have actually attended. Mm-hmm. What did they have to say?
I think they were quite blown away. I spoke to my elder sister just after she finished she finished the course. I think it was last month or something.
Yeah, the first one that I did in Perth in May.
Yeah, she finished that, and she didn't really have many words apart from that it blew her away, and it was quite unbelievable. So,
which was nice that she
really
told
speak.
her. Yeah.
So I mean, normally you've been grown up in a family of 7, so there's a pecking order of.
Oh yeah.
So where do you come in the pecking order?
So I'm the 3rd youngest. So this is my little sister, and then I have a little brother, and everybody else is older. So yeah, it was really awesome. My the next one up from me is 2 years older than me. She came to my Brisbane workshop last September, and one of the biggest kicks that I got was seeing her light up when she saw what I'm doing, and the amount of times that she came up to me and said, wow, like, I'm so proud of you. This is the best workshop I've ever been to in my life. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty big coming from you, because like she's done loads of workshops, but at the same time, like I could see the joy and the happiness in her eyes that this was me, and that she got to sit there and be a part of it. It was really, I couldn't put it into words how much that meant to me, that my sister, of all people, just thought that I was amazing. So, yeah, that really meant the world to me. And then my other sister came to the Perth workshop, and then so the one that's 2 years older, she came to that again. She's like, can I please come again? I'll be your helper, you know. And I'm like, yeah, you can come to as many as you want. And so she had a completely different experience the second time round. And then, yeah, my sister Tanya, the oldest one, she didn't say much to me, but, you know, my parents, when I went round to see them afterwards, my dad said, oh, Tanya was saying how amazing the workshop. I said, oh, really? She didn't say much to me. And he's like, yeah, she said that it was amazing and everybody there just thought that it was amazing. I was like, oh, cool, good, that's good. Good to hear. So, yeah, I can't wait to find out what Yolan thinks of it too.
Not sure what to expect, but we'll see. Ask me on Monday.
Yeah. Expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
And you're the baby? Or the brother?
Second youngest. I have a younger brother who's younger but much taller and bigger.
Yeah, the beefcake.
Yes.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Fair play.
Growing up with 4 older sisters, he's in touch with his feminine side.
Yeah, he got whipped pretty good.
Hey?
But he's not into spiritual stuff at all. It's more the girls of the family, really, and we're all very much in tune with each other, you know. Tanya, especially the oldest, she'll have these dreams and she'll just contact you out of the blue. I had this dream last night that such and such happened. It's like, well, funny you should say that. So, yeah, we're all a bit like that, you know, that we contact each other out of the blue and we know what's going on. Psychic sisters. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's very good. Your mum's got it. Your dad's something else, isn't he? What's the background?
Yeah, my dad's a scientist, physics and chemistry buff, and but you know, I remember when I was really young, him reading sections of the Bible to us, you know, on holiday one time, and saying, you know, and this golden chariot of light came over the mountain, and he would say, you know, you do realize that they're talking about a spaceship, don't you? That it's not really a golden chariot. Just little things like that stuck in my mind. And, you know, he was the first one to read the Celestine prophecy before the rest of the world did, kind of thing. And just little things like that, you know, he was the one doing it first, really, and then it kind of filtered through into us, really. My older sister as well, being that much older, I think she did it the hard yards because, you know, she got into all the spiritual stuff back when, you know, it was a bit underground and you didn't really kind of mention that you were into a lot of things. And so by the time I was about 14, I was going to Vedanta with her, which was like a ancient Indian philosophy group, and me and her would have these amazing chats on the veranda about spirituality and stuff. And yeah, I got stuck in at a really young age, and it was just something that I was really, really passionate about, and I just wanted to know everything.
So you're doing a workshop this weekend.
Yeah.
I understand off air that's already been sold out.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
But someone, if they really, really wanted to, could put their hand up.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm always open to more people. But yeah, they both workshops sold out within a couple of days of me posting that I was coming back to Queensland, which was really awesome.
Apart from the workshops, you alluded to the fact you do healing as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you going to be doing that? What do you hear?
Yeah. Not while I'm here. No. Well, in theory, we're doing that for 3 days. You know, I kind of go a bit freestyle with what happens in the workshop. So sometimes if someone needs a little bit extra, you know, I may take them aside if they need something, then I'm open to doing it. But I'm not really here to do healings. We're doing mass activation. And as I told my sister when I was telling her a bit about what she's up for this weekend, I said, really, it's like an epic 3-day healing. That's the best way of putting it. So... But yes, on a day-to-day basis, yes, I do galactic healings with the sacred symbols.
And when do you go back to Perth?
On Monday, so the 30th, I think it is. Yeah,
last day of the financial year.
Back to my boys. Oh, yeah, it is too.
Yeah. Okay, so when's the next trip to this side of the coast?
Well, I've kind of planned up until now. I do have some workshops in the pipeline for Sydney. Teaching Galactic Reiki, Sacred Symbols of the Stars 2. They want me to teach in the languages of light as well, which is the healing modality, but you have to have done level 1 and 2 before you can go into that one. I'm really open to seeing what the rest of the year brings me. I don't know. I kind of planned up until now, and then when I go back to Perth, I'm open to seeing what the universe brings. So yeah, love traveling. Totally open to if people say, hey, I've got a group and we're here in Adelaide. I've got 10 or more people. Would you come? Yeah, sure. I'll get on a plane. Let's go for it. So yeah,
I've set up before this interview. I sent some messages to the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they'll be listening into this, so that to see if something moves in that part of the world.
Oh, I'd love to go back there.
Okay, so that's good. So that's the first 12 set. Then the next set came. Were they 12 as well, or are you coming?
Yes, another 12. Yeah, that seems to be the magic number, 12, and then the 13th master symbol. So originally, no one really got to see the master symbols, but I use them as like the portal or the anchor in the center of the room for the workshops. However, now my advanced healing group also has them as well. So it's kind of like, why go one at a time when I can have all 12 at once, So, yeah, if I was going to use something, well, I've had a particular experience where I came under quite a bit of sabotage and attack from a particular person that was once upon a time the guru. And yeah, she was quite sneaky with some of the things that she was doing. So my husband did a healing on me, and he actually went back to the lifetime and the point when she first kind of put this spell on me, or hex, or whatever you want to call it. And he used the master symbol in reverse at that particular point, which was at the base of my skull, so that and basically programmed it that anything she threw at me would be reversed instantly. And I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. I love when my husband does healings, because he has a completely different style to me, and he'll come back and go, oh, guess what this symbol does, and he'll give me more information. So I'll put that in the manual and I'll tell my students about it. So yeah, the second series is...
before you move on there,
Sure.
I mean, in myths and mythologies, they always talk about the master key, don't they? I mean, in J.R. Rowling's book, I mean, it was the Eldbury wand that was the master of all wands, right? Lord of the Rings was about getting that ring and then putting it back into the volcanic lava, so to melt it down again, so no one could control all the kingdoms. Interesting analogy and play on words, how it keeps coming through in folk stories.
Yeah, definitely. There's something about the number 13 and it being a collection of all the energies of the 12 before it. I know, because when I was like, what's with this number? And I Googled a couple of things, and I was like, wow, it's actually, yeah, it's through quite a few, especially like conspiracy theory stuff as well. The number 13 actually plays quite a role. So I just went with what I was guided to, that there was 12 in the first series. Then I was like, cool, okay, we're finished. What do you mean there's another symbol? I was like, right. So the master symbol for the first one is an 8-pointed star they told me which one goes where, which is interesting, because they told me that the 8-pointed stars that are in a lot of the really old paintings and artworks are actually symbolizing the stargates, the portals that they journeyed through. However, the second series master symbol, I had this incredible pain in my throat and had to do a healing on myself. I was like, what is this wedged in here? And it's a stargate. And when I pulled it out, it's actually all 12 of the second series that creates the stargate, and that was the master symbol. I'd hidden it there. So yeah, these were all birthed from my heart. I had to get a particular person out of my life before they were safe to come through, because these have been here way back in the beginning of time, and unfortunately the frequencies were messed with and used for negative. And so this time I hid them in a really good hiding place so that they couldn't get taken. And just before they were birthed, I had to get rid of a lot of people out of my life that were connected to that particular lifetime. And so, I had this aching heart for days. And, I'm pregnant at the time. And I remember going and laying down in bed and just going, okay, what is this? And I was like, oh, they're hidden in my heart. And so I had to talk to my heart and say, you know, okay, it's safe for you to come out of your hiding space now. And all these beautiful golden symbols came flying out of my heart and kind of almost a bit like in a torus shape out of my heart and around me. And I was just like, oh, what is this, you know? And then that's when they were birthed, and they've been coming through ever since.
So the word torus is basically looking at the planet, and you see the magnetic fields coming up through and then revolving around the planet.
Down.
So just for those people who want to know.
So it was like the heart torus. Yeah.
So why don't we just have a break, and we'll put some music, and we'll put the kettle on and come back. We'll have a cuppa
Sure.
and we'll come back.
Sounds good.
Because I can see that you need to get fluid.
Oh, yeah, I drink a lot of water.
You need to get that fluid going, don't you? Okay, so let's just, we'll have a 10-minute break.
Awesome.
And then we'll come back and do the second set.
Sounds good.
Yeah.